Hey everyone, welcome to Reality TV News Update, the place where we bring you the latest updates, fun moments, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss. Grief has a way of stealing language. It arrives quietly, settles deeply, and leaves behind an emptiness that words struggle to fill. For weeks following the sudden death of her husband, Ashley Hollis remained silent, choosing privacy over public statements as she and her family tried to process an unimaginable loss. Friends and loved ones described her as heartbroken but resilient, surrounded by support, yet clearly altered by the gravity of what she had endured. Ashley has now spoken for the first time since his passing. Her message, shared in a simple post without fanfare or flourish, was brief but devastating in its honesty. "This just leaves you speechless," she wrote. In a world where grief is often expected to be articulated, explained, or even justified, Ashley's words captured the reality that some pain exists beyond explanation. Those closest to Ashley say the days following her husband's death felt unreal, as if time itself had fractured. Ordinary routines became impossible. Spaces that were familiar felt foreign. The weight of absence was felt in every moment. Her husband was not only her partner, but her constant, the person who anchored her life, shared her plans, and shaped her future. Their relationship, by all accounts, was built on quiet strength rather than spectacle. Friends describe a marriage rooted in loyalty, humor, and an unwavering sense of teamwork. They were the kind of couple who communicated without words, who understood each other's moods in a glance, who made the ordinary feel meaningful simply by sharing it. That is what made the loss so profound. Ashley's statement did not attempt to summarize her husband's life or offer poetic reflections on death. Instead, it centered on the raw reality of what remains when someone is gone. There are no words that can explain what it feels like to wake up and realize the person you planned forever with is suddenly not here, she shared. You don't just lose a person, you lose a future. Those lines resonated deeply with many who have experienced similar loss. Within hours of her post, messages of support flooded in, from friends, extended family, and strangers alike. Many thanked her for articulating a feeling they had never been able to name themselves. Grief experts often note that early mourning is marked by shock rather than sadness. Ashley's message reflected that truth. It was not dramatic or detailed, but subdued, almost restrained, as if the weight of what happened was still too heavy to fully acknowledge. "She's still trying to survive each day," said one family friend. Speaking out at all took so much courage. Ashley also acknowledged the overwhelming support she has received, writing that she has been carried by kindness in moments when she felt unable to stand on her own. She claimed that these insignificant gestures have served as lifelines, including meals delivered to her door, messages left in the middle of the night, and unexpected company. Yet even with that support, she made it clear that grief remains deeply personal. "No amount of love fills the space he left," Ashley wrote. "Just brings to mind how much he was loved," she said. Her husband's death, while not surrounded by public details, has left a permanent mark on those who knew him. Described as warm, dependable, and fiercely devoted to his family, he was the type of person who showed up, not just when it was convenient, but when it mattered most. Ashley's words suggested that she is still coming to terms with the reality of his absence. She admitted that some days feel manageable, while others feel impossible. "Grief doesn't follow a schedule," she wrote. "It doesn't care what day it is or what you're supposed to be doing. It just showed up." That honesty struck a chord. In a culture that often pressures widows and widowers to be strong or move forward too quickly after loss, Ashley's refusal to rush her healing felt quietly revolutionary.
She did not promise resilience. She did not offer lessons learned. She simply acknowledged pain. "This just leaves you speechless," she repeated at the end of her message, a phrase that has since become a shared refrain among those responding to her post. Mental health advocates have praised Ashley for speaking openly about grief without romanticizing it. They assert that loss is not neatly linear, inspiring, or transformative. It is messy, disorienting, and often isolating. By choosing vulnerability over platitudes, Ashley gave others permission to do the same. Those closest to her say she is taking things one moment at a time. There are currently no long-term plans and no definite path forward. Right now, survival looks like getting out of bed, breathing through waves of sadness, and allowing herself to feel whatever arises without judgment. She loved him with everything she had, a friend shared, and now she's learning how to live in a world where that love has nowhere to land. Ashley also expressed gratitude for being allowed to grieve privately, asking for continued compassion as she navigates this new reality. "I'm learning that grief isn't something you get through, it's something you carry." Her message ended without a call to action, without hashtags or slogans, just quiet truth. In the days since, many have reflected on the power of her words, not because they explained loss, but because they didn't try to. Sometimes acknowledging that there are no words is the most honest response of all. Love, memories, and the enduring presence of a bond that death could not erase surround Ashley Hollis as she continues her journey through grief. Her husband may be gone, but the life they built and the love they shared remains woven into every part of who she is. And for now, that is enough. Because some losses don't demand eloquence. They simply leave you speechless. For weeks after her husband's sudden death, Ashley lived in a silence that felt louder than any words could ever be. Friends, family, and those who knew the couple waited patiently, understanding that some losses are too heavy to speak about right away. Grief doesn't happen in a straight line or in a predetermined order. It simply settles in, changing everything. Now, for the first time since losing the man she loved, Ashley has found the strength to speak. Her message was short, unguarded, and devastatingly honest. "This just leaves you speechless," she wrote. In a single sentence, Ashley captured the reality of a loss so profound that language itself feels inadequate. It wasn't a prepared statement or a polished tribute. It was grief, exactly as it exists in real life, raw, stunned, and unresolved. Those closest to Ashley say the days following her husband's passing felt surreal. Time seemed to stretch and collapse at the same time. Simple tasks became overwhelming. Mornings were especially difficult, marked by the painful realization that the person she had planned a lifetime with was suddenly gone. You don't just lose a person, you forfeit the future you were constructing together. Her words resonated deeply, especially with those who have experienced the kind of loss that reshapes not just the present, but every expectation for what comes next. Ashley and her husband were known as a quiet, steady couple. Their love wasn't loud or performative. It was rooted in trust, shared routines, and an understood expectation of one another. Friends recall how they showed up for each other in small but meaningful ways, late-night conversations, inside jokes, and a sense of comfort that made even difficult days easier to face. Because of this, the absence is so overwhelming. In her statement, Ashley didn't try to summarize her husband's life in grand terms. Instead, she focused on what remains, the empty spaces, the unanswered questions, and the ache that follows her through every part of the day. She wrote, "Some moments feel manageable, others take my breath away." Her honesty struck a chord. In a culture that often pressures widows and widowers to be strong or move forward too quickly after loss, Ashley's refusal to rush her feeling felt deeply authentic. She did not promise resilience. She did not offer lessons learned. She simply acknowledged pain. "This just leaves you speechless," she repeated at the end of her message, a phrase that has since become a shared refrain among those responding to her post. Mental health advocates have praised Ashley for speaking openly about grief without romanticizing it. They assert that loss is not neatly linear, inspiring, or transformative. It is messy, disorienting, and often isolating. By choosing vulnerability over platitudes, Ashley gave others permission to do the same. Those closest to her say she is taking things one moment at a time. There are currently no
Mental health advocates have praised her message for normalizing the reality of grief as something ongoing rather than something to overcome. They point out that loss is a permanent shift and not a phase. Ashley's words reflect an understanding that healing doesn't mean forgetting or moving on, but learning how to carry love and pain at the same time. Friends say Ashley is taking things one day, sometimes 1 hour at a time. There are no major plans yet, no expectations for what life should look like next. Right now, progress means allowing herself to feel everything without apology. She loved him completely, one close friend shared, and now she's learning how to live in a world that feels unfamiliar without him. In her message, Ashley also asked for continued patience and compassion as she navigates this new reality. She wrote, "I'm still finding my footing. Some days I can talk, some days I can't. Both are okay." Her final words echoed the phrase that has since stayed with so many readers. "This just leaves you speechless." It wasn't supposed to be deep or poetic. It was simply the truth. Ashley's message has become a quiet source of comfort for others going through similar losses since she spoke out. Not because it offers answers, but because it acknowledges the absence of them. Sometimes the most powerful thing a grieving person can say is that there is nothing to say at all. As Ashley Hollis continues to grieve, she does so surrounded by love, memory, and the enduring bond she shared with her husband, a bond that does not end with death. His presence lives on in the life they built together, in the habits they shared, and in the love that remains, even in his absence. There may come a time when words feel easier, but for the time being, Ashley's message serves as a reminder that some losses cannot be explained. Ashley Hollis lived in a quiet that felt heavy and unfamiliar for weeks after her husband's death. It was the kind of silence that settles into every corner of life, changing the way time moves and the way the world sounds. Knowing that grief does not arrive with explanations or deadlines, her loved ones respected her privacy. Some losses are too deep for immediate words. Now, for the first time since losing the man she loved, Ashley has spoken. Her message was simple but devastating. She wrote, "This just leaves you speechless." In a single sentence, Ashley captured what countless grieving people struggle to explain, the moment when shock and sorrow collide and language fails completely. Those closest to Ashley say the days following her husband's passing felt unreal. Routines became reminders of what was missing. Mornings were the hardest, marked by the painful realization that the person she expected to wake up beside was no longer there. Nights stretched long, filled with memories and unanswered questions. "You don't just lose a person," Ashley shared in her message, "you forfeit the future you jointly planned." It was a truth that resonated deeply. Grief is about more than just the past. It is also about how everything that was supposed to happen next suddenly vanished. Ashley and her husband were known as a steady, loving couple. Their relationship wasn't loud or performative. Instead, it was built on trust, shared habits, and an unspoken understanding that comes from years of partnership. Friends describe them as best friends first, partners who quietly but completely supported one another. That deep connection is what makes the loss so overwhelming. Ashley did not attempt to provide a comprehensive tribute or public explanation in her statement. Instead, she focused on the reality of what remains, the empty spaces, the silence, and the weight of absence that follows her through each day. She wrote, "Some days I can breathe. Other days it feels impossible." Her sincerity touched a powerful nerve. Friends, family, and even strangers who had been through similar losses sent supportive messages. Many expressed their gratitude to Ashley for putting into words a feeling they had never been able to. Others simply offered compassion, reminding her that she was not alone. Ashley acknowledged that support with gratitude, writing about the kindness that has helped carry her through the darkest moments. Meals dropped off without being asked, messages sent with no expectation of reply, and friends who showed up just to sit quietly. All of it mattered. She stated, "I've felt held by love when I didn't have the strength to stand." Still, she made it clear that comfort does not erase grief. No amount of love fills the space he left. It just brings to mind how much I love him and how much he was loved by me. Her husband's death, though not surrounded by public details, has left a lasting impact on those who knew him. He was remembered as dependable, kind, and deeply devoted to his family. To Ashley, he was more than a partner. He was her constant, her safe place, the person who understood her without needing words. Grief experts often explain that early mourning is defined by shock and disbelief, and Ashley's message reflects that reality. There is no sense of closure or resolution in her words. She does not attempt to find meaning or offer inspiration. She simply allows the pain to exist. "Grief doesn't follow rules," she wrote. "It doesn't move in a straight line. In waves it comes." That perspective has resonated widely. In a culture that often encourages people to be strong or move on, Ashley's willingness to sit with her pain feels deeply authentic. She does not present herself as resilient or healed. She projects the persona of a human. Mental health advocates have praised her message for normalizing grief as something ongoing rather than something to overcome. Loss does not end. It changes shape. Healing does not mean forgetting. It means learning how to live with love and loss side by side. Friends say Ashley is taking life one moment at a time. At this time, there are no expectations regarding the future. Some days are manageable. Others feel impossibly heavy, and she is allowing herself to experience both without guilt. She loved him with everything she had, a close friend shared, and now she's learning how to exist in a world that feels completely different. Ashley also requested continued understanding and compassion in her message as she navigates this new chapter. She wrote, "Some days I can talk. Some days I can't. Please know both are okay." Her final words echoed the sentence that has since stayed with so many readers. "This just leaves you speechless." It wasn't intended to be dramatic or poetic. It was simply the truth. In the days since Ashley Hollis spoke out, her message has become a quiet source of comfort for others walking through similar grief, not because it offers answers, but because it acknowledges the absence of them. Sometimes the most honest response to loss is silence. As Ashley continues her journey, she does so carrying the love she shared with her husband, a love that did not end with his death. It remains present in memory, in habit, and in the space he left behind.